to Strategic Management, Week 1, and I'm going to cover Capsim for the first week. I'm Dr. Alicia Brannon-Little, and I will be giving you an overview of the Capsim program and what you need to do to be prepared to participate in it. Capsim is a business simulation program that you do need to be registered for no later than today. This is the first day of class. You will need to pay a registration fee of $53.99. You should have received previous emails about the requirements for strategic management. Strategic management actually covers economics, accounting, finance, management, and marketing. And these particular areas are covered in this Capsim Business Simulation program. This is a capstone course for seniors. This program, or this part of your final project, this capstone business simulation program, the Capsim program, is worth 30% of your grade. It is not an actual paper that you would write, so there's no paper involved, but you do have to participate in the business simulation program in order to earn credit. Each team is graded on whether or not they are successful in the program. Successful meaning that you're earning a profit and that you are demonstrating your ability to complete this business simulation program. You are competing with other firms in the industry, and all of the students in the class have been assigned to a team. But in order to be assigned to a team, you first have to register with Capsim. So each team will be assigned, and the teams are divided up into Andrews, Baldwin, and Chester. And then there are other industry teams that you compete against. It should be approximately 6 teams in total that expand over the course of this particular class. What I want to do is give you a little more detailed information about Capsim and then tell you how it relates to the chapter. What you are doing is you are in charge of a multi-million-dollar company. You manufacture sensors, which you market to other manufacturers. They put your products into devices that they sell. Your company was created when the government split a monopoly into identical competitors. As a monopoly, operating inefficiencies and poor product offerings were not addressed because increasing costs could be passed on to the customers, and then also because mediocre products would sell because customers had no other choices. Although last year's financials were decent, your products are getting old, your marketing efforts are falling short, your production lines need revamping, and your financial management is almost non-existent. This information is located in your team guide. So I encourage you to read through the team guide so that you will be equipped to prepare yourselves to make decisions when you're participating in this business simulation program. The information from the team guide also states that although your last year's financial results were decent, your product is getting old, your marketing efforts are falling short, and your production lines need revamping. So I'm reiterating this because this is something that you need to be focused on when you're moving forward. Competitors with better products and or lower prices will take your market share. Remember, the goal in order to earn profits or more profits is to also gain more market share. The management tools that you need to run your company is first to complete all of the rehearsal tutorials. So you have these rehearsal tutorials and practice rounds before the actual competition rounds begin. This is what you want to take advantage of. You can talk to your teammate about your practice rounds, although your practice rounds are individual, but you still talk to each other, because this is how you learn to start working together and to get ahead. You need to understand your product, the decisions that you'll be making, and whether or not you're going to buy and sell equipment or gain a better understanding of your financial resources. The Capstone Courier is another resource that is available to the teams, and it is an industry newsletter, and it provides extensive information about the sensor industry. You also will have pro formas after the first week and annual reports after the first week that are specific to your company. Pro formas are the projections, and the annual reports are your results. They are your results. So those will help to guide you in the decision making process. Keep in mind that as you're moving through this business simulation program, that you have to refer back. So week 1, you won't have some things available to you until week 2. Then at week 2, you can refer back to that information before making decisions about week 2. And it compares the other competing teams, those other organizations that are competing with you, and their results. Maybe you can look to see where they're doing well and where you can improve to gain part of their market share and increase your profits. There are 4 company departments. You have your R&D, which is your research and development that designs the product line. This department needs to invent and revise products that appeal to your customers' changing needs. Then you have marketing. This is prices, and it promotes products and responsible for forecasting. Then you also have production, which determines how many units will be manufactured. And they're also responsible for buying and selling production lines. Then there is your finance department, which makes sure that the company has the financial resources it needs for the company to operate effective and efficiently. There are some other departments that work together in the company, or actually these 4 departments in different ways that they work together. So you have R&D and marketing. They both produce products that meet customers' needs. Then you have R&D and production to ensure assembly lines are purchased for new products. You also have marketing and production. They make sure that the manufacturing quantities are in line with forecasts. Marketing and finance project revenue and your accounts receivable policy. Finance and production determine what money is needed for additional equipment or production, and maybe that if production can be decreased in an area, or sell idle capacity. The last one is the finance and all of the departments. So remember, finance affects every single department because finance watches over overall company expenditures, the spending that is taking place. Finance should be involved in the decision-making process for every department, or at least view all the decisions that are being made. So when you're determining who is responsible for which department, keep that in mind. The finance person needs to be involved in the decision-making for all of the departments. During the rehearsal tutorial, you will show how to make decisions in a scripted environment. During the practice rounds, you are actually completing an experiment with your decisions so that you can lead into the competition rounds with more knowledge and experience behind making those decisions. There are also decision audits, which is a complete trail of all team decisions. This will help you to identify your decision-making strengths and weaknesses and help keep you on track of who is making decisions and in what round. The goal is to run a successful company that is profitable and sustainable. When you are keeping track of who's making decisions, I am also keeping track of that. I see how many times you log on, how long you're logged on, what decisions each team member is making. So when you have completed everything for the final round, then it helps me and you to see what you are doing in the entire process. Have you logged in? How long you're staying on the computer to actually be able to go through the information to generate the right responses in those areas you need to make decisions for. So I'm looking at that. You should be logging in periodically throughout every single week. So you should have several logins throughout every single week. In addition to doing that, you should be making decisions. Now, don't just go in and click on things and make a decision. Some of those things require you to save that information so that your decision will be posted. If you don't do that, then it shows that you haven't made a decision. So be very careful to make sure that you are following the right steps in order to make decisions to participate in this business simulation program. In addition to that information, I want to provide you with just a little bit more. There are some industry conditions that you need to be aware of. The industry information has an industry conditions report that'll help you understand your customers. So customers are divided into groups. They represent certain market segments. So the customer groups are traditional, low end, high end, and then you have to look at performance and size. Also be aware of the buying criteria. Customers within each market segment have different standards they use to evaluate products. They consider price, age, mean time before failure, and positioning. There's also how to manage your company. When you're going through the tutorial section where you have those rehearsal tutorials, it shows you the mechanics of the company departments. Entering decisions is the easy part, but determining what decisions to enter is a little more challenging. So make sure that you are reading through your team guide. That actually gives you information on the entire process, things that you need to be doing and that you don't need to be doing, areas where you need to increase and maybe even decrease. And after week 1, you will have access to the Capstone Courier and the pro formas and annual reports. When you're looking at those pro formas, you're going to be evaluating your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, and then the income statement. The balance sheet is your assets are going to equal your liabilities and your equity. So the balance sheet lists the dollar value of what the company owns, which are the assets, what the company owes to its creditors, which is a liability, and the amount contributed by investors, which is the equity. Then your cash flow statement indicates the movement of cash through the organization, including operating, investing, and financing activities. The annual report's cash flow statement shows the change in the amount of cash from the previous year. The pro forma cash flow statement indicates the expected change at the end of the upcoming year. So whenever the rounds are complete, it talks about it in years. Then there is the income statement. Your company can use the income statement to diagnose problems on a product by product basis. Sales for each product are reported in dollars, not the number of products. Subtracting the variable costs from sales determines the contribution margin. Inventory carrying costs are driven by the number of products in the warehouse. If your company has 0 inventory carrying costs, you have stocked out. You have nothing in stock. So keep that in mind. You have to keep your eyes on the inventory and carrying costs because sometimes they are high because you need to sell more, or sometimes it's too low and you need to add more product. In the decision making, your task is to find ways to ensure compliance and minimize exposure, and then return value to all of your stakeholders. So you'll have to do some forecasting. Forecasting requires a little bit of math. For example, does your forecast predict your product will require half of the segment's sales when there are 4 or 5 products in the segment. So unless your product's positioning, age, and the mean time before failure are significantly superior to the other products, and your price is at a low end of the range, it is not likely that you will acquire half of the sales. If your financial predictions are unrealistically too high, you will have an unrealistic revenue projection. So keep that in mind. Basically, that will give you an overview of much of the information that you're going to read. This will help reiterate what that process is that you go through when you are making decisions in Capsim. The other thing that I want to tell you is if you are looking at your team member guide, which I'm looking at right now, you have a team member guide. It tells you pretty much everything. It talks about management tools. It talks about the rehearsal tutorial. It talks about the industry conditions and the capstone courier, the different departments, your pro formas, things that you can do and you should be doing in areas where you need to decrease or increase. It talks about many different things that will help you and guide you through this process. I would say divide up the team member guide into those particular roles that each of you will take on and according to the departments that you're going to be leading. That way, one person is not stuck with covering every single thing there is in this team member guide. It is very lengthy. If you take the time to go through it, you should be more knowledgeable about this business simulation program. A few other things that I want to share with you is this program itself. It is used, this is called the Capstone 2.0. It's an advanced strategic management simulation program that is geared toward strategic management courses and also some MBA courses. It challenges you to apply your knowledge, the knowledge that you have learned in previous classes that you can use now to develop a corporate strategy. So remember, you are taking over a multi-million-dollar company that manufactures sensors. These devices are found in phones, vehicles, and many other products. So this is where you are when you're going into that decision-making process. So keep in mind, you have those 4 departments: R&D, marketing, production, and finance. Now, as far as your score goes, there will be only 1 A in the class. It doesn't mean you can't make an 89, which is 1 point away from an A, but there's only going to be 1 A because there's only going to be 1 top team. There are going to be teams from our course, 3 teams from the class, and also 3 teams from the industry. All 6 teams are what I'm going to look at. So if you are the lead of all 6 teams throughout this process, then your team will probably earn the A. The next team will earn a B, and the last team will earn a C. No team will earn below a C unless you have team members who are not participating in the program. Now, just because your grade will not be, your team grade will not be below a C, doesn't mean an individual team member won't get a failing grade. I have had team members that maybe logged on less than 5 times throughout the whole entire process. They received a failing grade. Keep that in mind. This is a competition, but as far as teamwork goes, if you're playing your part, no one's going to earn below a C because you are participating. But you have to participate in a manner that you can demonstrate your knowledge of actually earning a profit. So just keep in mind, the grades are A, B, C, unless you're not participating. And that's the way you will be graded. Your grade is based off of all 6 industries, all 6 organizations in the entire industry. So not just what we're doing in class, but also you're competing with the other 3 industries within the Capstone Business Simulation Program. So I want to share with you how Chapter 1, Creating a Competitive Advantage, actually plays an important role in this business simulation program. So keep in mind that this program is not outside of what you are learning in the text. It actually coordinates with the information from the textbook. So for Chapter 1, Capsim, the simulation program, it spans the knowledge of the knowing how to do something. So it's going to span the knowing doing gap. In previous courses, you should have gained much business knowledge. And again, in accounting, economics, finance, operations, marketing, and in management. In a strategy course, which this is a strategy course, strategic management, you have to combine your knowledge to understanding the management of organizations. The simulation addresses the key information in Chapter 1. So it addresses one key question from Chapter 1. Why do some organizations outperform other organizations? In the simulation program, whether as a team or you're doing maybe some things as an individual, all of you have to manage the firm, the organization, that multi-million-dollar company that you're running. So some of you will outperform others. Some of you must then determine what you need to do or what you're doing right or wrong and make those changes to improve your performance moving forward. Remember, from round to round, there will be results that you can review in the Capstone Courier, in the pro formas, and when you review that information, you actually see each of the organizations within the industry. So you can compare their results to your results. So keep that in mind. That way you can see and compare what you're doing right and what you have done incorrectly. Excuse me. Also, you will go through all 3 parts of the strategy process. We discussed this in the chapter, in Chapter 1, Analysis, Formulation, and Implementation, to make your operational decisions. Hopefully, the decisions will lead to a competitive advantage for your team. Then you need to review your year-end results by reviewing annual reports to see if your decisions resulted in good profits or even just increased profits, and also increased stock prices. Of course, you will have to repeat this process for each round that is completed. So it talks about it in years, but it is each round. The simulation involves many of the key attributes of strategic management. The simulation involves multiple functional areas of the organization that, remember, we talked about those: R&D, marketing, production, and finance, both short-term and long-term decisions, and different operational decisions to correspond to different firm strategies. There are even different strategies for different products within the same firm. So in summary, for Chapter 1, the simulation program puts each part of the strategic management process into an ongoing exercise where you must analyze the current situation of your organization. You have to develop a strategy based on your situation, put the plan into action, and then make corrections as necessary to performance. As far as Chapter 2 goes, and the business simulation program, Chapter 2 is about analyzing the external environment. This chapter illustrates the importance of forecasting, deciding what and how many products a firm should build. This is a very important part of the Capsim business simulation program. If you forecast and build too much, you will have excess inventory and possibly need an emergency loan. If you forecast and build too little, you will stock out, which allows the other teams to gain extra profits because people are going to need to buy a product, so they will get it from your competitor. This chapter shows how scanning and monitoring the external environment can improve your organization's forecasting. The same applies to this business simulation program. For chapter 2, one of the biggest the unknowns in the simulation is what the other teams will do each round. So the annual reports in the simulation program can give you a good prediction of what the other teams could do. It shows their existing products and how much production capacity each product has. It also has information on the future products. So based on this information, you can you can make your decisions for the next year and modify the strategies that you have if it requires that. And you have to keep in mind that, strategic groups are also part of this simulation program. The team mainly competes against products in the market segment in the perceptual maps, such as low tech or the high tech products. But this is something that you can put on your resume. I've had students put this on their resume because they say, I participated in that simulation program. It is an actual business simulation program that can help you develop your skills, your decision-making skills in business. So take advantage of this opportunity to participate in this program. Remember, you should be signed up before the end of today and begin those rehearsal tutorials and go into those practice rounds so that you can be successful. In the meantime, read everything that is posted in the announcements. I have posted everything possible almost to help you get ahead in this business simulation program.